In the busy city restaurant, warm light covered the tables and soft voices filled the air as Mia, the young waitress, moved with calm steps, carrying plates and drinks with steady hands, her smile gentle, even though her heart felt heavy because her mother was sick at home, and every hour of work mattered for their future. The evening crowd was large and Mia was helping a table when the door opened, and everyone stared as Vanessa, the CEO's girlfriend, entered wearing a sparkling dress and sharp heels that struck the floor like small hammers. She walked as if the whole room existed only to admire her, and she enjoyed every whisper that followed her shining presence. Mia tried not to look because she knew Vanessa well, or at least she knew the stories. Vanessa loved showing power, she loved winning, and she loved pushing others down just to feel taller. Mia kept serving her tables, carefully hoping Vanessa would ignore her tonight, but fate turned toward her with cold eyes. At a corner table, a small boy struggled with a chess puzzle on the kids' menu, and Mia saw him sigh with frustration. She knelt beside him and gently showed him a simple move that freed his trapped piece. The boy lit up with joy, thanking her with a bright smile. Mia smiled back, happy to help for even one peaceful moment. Vanessa saw it all and her eyes narrowed with irritation. She did not like when someone else gained attention, especially a waitress with old shoes and tired eyes. She raised her chin and walked across the restaurant loud enough that all heads turned, following her proud and heavy steps. She stopped in front of Mia and asked loudly if the little waitress thought she was some kind of chess champion, her voice sharp and mocking, the air around them turning stiff and cold. The boy tried to defend Mia, but Vanessa waved him off with a cruel smirk before announcing she wanted to play a real match right now in front of everyone. The crowd whispered, knowing Vanessa loved crushing people in public. Mia felt her chest tighten, but she saw the boy staring at her with hope, and something brave rose inside her, something she thought she had lost long ago. She agreed quietly, and the room fell silent as the tension grew like a thick wall around them. A waiter brought a chessboard and placed it between the two women, while customers formed a tight circle, phones lifting into the air to record the scene, because they sensed something unusual was beginning, something that would not be forgotten. Mia sat slowly, her hands shaking a little but her eyes steady with quiet courage. Vanessa sat across from her, crossing her legs with confidence and claiming the white pieces, because she believed she deserved the advantage. Mia simply nodded without protest, while the restaurant grew so quiet that even distant kitchen sounds faded into nothing. The boy stood near Mia, hopping she would not lose, while several guests exchanged worried glances, unsure why Vanessa was so determined to humiliate a simple worker, but certain that she intended to win in the loudest way possible. Mia breathed deeply, remembering the old days when she used to play chess every evening with her mother before life became heavy. Those memories warmed her mind, softly holding her together as she placed her fingers on the black pieces, ready for whatever would come. Vanessa leaned forward, ready to show off her skills, and whispered that she hoped Mia would not cry after losing. Mia said nothing. She only met Vanessa's eyes with calm, steady focus that surprised some people in the crowd who had only seen her shy and quiet all night. The tension thickened as Vanessa touched her first piece, and the entire room leaned in closer, expecting drama, expecting humiliation, expecting fireworks, but none of them truly knew what kind of story was about to begin. Mia kept her breath low and her thoughts steady, feeling the same fire she once had on the chessboard long ago, a fire she believed had faded, but now returned quietly like a small spark glowing in the dark. And then, in that still heavy moment before the first move, the restaurant seemed to hold its breath, as if the walls themselves sensed that this simple match between a proud girlfriend and a humble waitress would change everything in ways no one could have imagined. The circle of watching faces grew tighter, and even the staff paused, hopping to witness something remarkable as curiosity spread, for everyone sensed Mia was not as simple as she appeared, and that Vanessa would soon learn a lesson that would change the night for everyone present. The moment Vanessa made her first move, the entire restaurant leaned closer, the white pawn sliding forward across the board like a warning signal, and everyone around them sensed the match had officially begun, and there was no turning back for either woman. Mia stared at the board with steady eyes, her hands resting gently beside the pieces as she studied Vanessa's opening move carefully. She breathed in slowly, letting her mind clear the same way she used to do when she played with her mother during quiet evenings long before life had become heavy and complicated. And as she exhaled, she lifted her pawn with calm grace, answering Vanessa's move with confidence that surprised even herself. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting Mia to respond so quickly, and a small wave of whispers passed through the crowd like a soft wind. People wondered if Mia had only been lucky, or if she truly understood the game more than she had shown, and Vanessa leaned back in her chair with a smirk that tried to hide the slight crack forming in her confidence. The kitchen staff peeked through the doorway, the waiters pretended to wipe tables just to stay close, and even the restaurant owner stood near the wall watching silently, because something about Mia's calmness drew everyone in like a quiet fire that warmed the air around her, and made them forget they were simply in a restaurant on an ordinary night. Vanessa made her next move with sharp confidence, pushing her piece loudly, as if she wanted everyone to hear the sound of her power. She loved attention, and she loved control, and she wanted Mia to feel small with every move she made, but Mia did not bend. She gently touched her knight, and moved it with slow patience, placing it exactly where it needed to be, and a few people gasped softly. Vanessa's smile stiffened, but she kept her chin high. She wanted to win, and she wanted to win hard. She wanted Mia to walk away embarrassed and broken, so she leaned closer to the board and whispered that Mia should not get too happy too soon, because one good move did not mean anything in the world of real strategy. But Mia did not flinch. She simply offered a polite nod that somehow annoyed Vanessa even more. The little boy who had watched Mia help him earlier stood nearby, gripping his menu with both hands and cheering her quietly under his breath. He knew something special was happening, and he could not look away even for a second. The way Mia studied the board made him believe in her the way a child believes in heroes. Another move, another whisper from the crowd. Vanessa began to feel the room shifting away from her. People were no longer watching her with admiration. They were watching Mia with interest and hope, and Vanessa felt a spark of anger rise inside her. She slammed her next piece harder than she intended, making a few customers flinch. But Mia only sat straighter and observed the board as if the sound did not touch her at all. Mia moved her bishop with a smooth motion, creating a quiet trap that only skilled players would notice, and a waiter near the back whispered that he thought Mia might actually be winning, and Vanessa shot him a sharp glare, angry that anyone dared to doubt her skill. But even she felt a pinch of worry deep inside her chest because the board was changing, and she did not understand how so quickly. Ethan, the CEO, had entered the restaurant quietly earlier, and he stood near a column with his hands in his pockets, watching the match with thoughtful eyes. He did not step forward, he did not speak, but he could feel something strange in the air, something that told him this match was not just a game, it was a turning point, a moment that would reveal who people truly were beneath their pretty words and shiny clothes. Vanessa tried to regain control of the board. She moved, she leaned, she narrowed her eyes. She tapped her nails against the table. In frustration, she even tried to distract Mia by talking loudly about her expensive lifestyle and how she played chess with powerful people at grand private events. But Mia simply studied the pieces, ignoring every attempt to break her focus. The board slowly shifted into a shape that worried Vanessa more and more. Her pieces seemed cornered without her noticing. Mia's strategy had been quiet, slow, calm, and now dangerous, and Vanessa could not understand how she was suddenly being pushed back little by little, move after move. The crowd felt the tension grow heavier, like a storm cloud waiting to burst. People held their breath after every move, wondering how a simple waitress could stand so strong against a woman who lived her life as if she were above everyone else. And the boy whispered to Mia that she was doing great, and she smiled softly without lifting her eyes from the game. Then Mia moved her rook in a way that made the entire room react with soft shock. Even the restaurant owner lifted his brows, because it was a clever move, a clean move, the kind that showed true skill, and Vanessa's face drained of some of its color, as she realized she had not seen the trap at all. The match was far from over, but the balance had shifted, and the whole room could feel it. Mia was no longer just surviving the game, she was taking control, and Vanessa felt the world tilt slightly beneath her, as if the ground itself dared to challenge her pride. And the restaurant waited breathlessly for what would come next, certain that the calm, quiet waitress they once overlooked was slowly becoming the center of a story none of them would forget. The moment Mia placed her last piece, the room fell into a quiet tension that wrapped around every person watching. Even Vanessa felt it pressing against her, as she leaned forward, pretending to stay confident, though her eyes showed a quick flicker of fear. Mia kept her hands folded neatly in her lap, her breathing calm, her mind clear. She studied the board like it was a soft puzzle, instead of a test meant to break her, and people felt something rising from her, a steady, quiet strength that made them edge closer in silence. Vanessa pushed her next piece forward with sharp force, trying to look bold and unshaken, she told herself. She was still in control, she told herself. She would win just like she always did, whenever people gathered to watch her, but the small tremble in her fingers betrayed her pride. Mia responded with a gentle move, sliding her pawn into a place that shifted the whole board again. A waiter gasped, softly, unable to hide his shock. Because the move was clean clever, and full of meaning, it showed that Mia was not just playing, she was planning ahead in ways Vanessa could not see. The little boy who admired Mia stood right behind her, whispering that she was doing amazing, and his innocent voice gave Mia a warmth inside her chest, helping her stay steady under so many watching eyes. Vanessa tapped her fingers on the table, trying to hide her frustration. She spoke loudly, saying Mia was getting lucky, saying the pieces were falling by chance, saying anyone could stumble into a good move. But the crowd did not believe her. They saw the truth in Mia's calm face, in her steady eyes, in her thoughtful hands. Mia made another move, her knight gliding across the board in a graceful curve, and the room reacted with a soft wave of gasps because the move revealed a hidden trap. A trap Vanessa had not noticed at all. Vanessa leaned closer, her eyes wide, as she searched the board, but every path she saw led straight into danger. Ethan watched silently from the side, his gaze fixed on Mia, not with judgment, but with deep curiosity. He had never seen someone so quiet yet so powerful, someone ignored, yet so skilled, someone who played with care instead of pride, and he wondered how Vanessa would handle this growing pressure. Vanessa forced a smile and threw her hair back as if the situation were still under control, but her voice cracked slightly when she announced her next move, and even she heard the fear hiding inside her own words. She pushed her rook aggressively across the board, hopping to intimidate Mia, but the move only made her position weaker. Mia moved her bishop, slowly placing it in a spot that tightened the trap. Even more, the crowd sensed the shift, and several people whispered that Vanessa might lose, and Vanessa snapped at them, demanding silence. The restaurant lights reflected gently off the board, casting long shadows that made the match look dramatic. Mia stayed calm, her thoughts quiet, her expression soft. She had nothing to prove, she was simply playing with the heart she had carried for years. Vanessa felt sweat forming along her hairline. She hated the idea of losing, especially to someone she had called a simple waitress. She tried to find a rescue move, but the pieces no longer obeyed her. The board belonged to Mia now, and everyone felt it. Mia lifted her rook and placed it down with careful grace, revealing a new attack, and the entire circle of onlookers reacted with a rising gasp. Vanessa's queen was trapped, her strategy broken. Vanessa's breath hitched as she stared at the board. She accused Mia of tricking her, of playing unfairly, of hiding her real skill. But the owner stepped forward, explaining gently that Mia had once been a talented junior champion, a girl who had played in tournaments before life pulled her away. The truth settled over the room like warm light, and people understood why Mia played with such quiet strength. She carried years of lost time, years of silent practice, years of love for a game that still lived inside her. Vanessa tried one last desperate move, pushing her pawn forward without thinking, but Mia's eyes softened as she reached for her piece. She moved her knight with slow certainty, placing Vanessa in check, and the entire room went quiet once more. It was not a loud moment, it was not a dramatic explosion, it was a quiet, pure moment of understanding. Mia was not just surviving the match, she was winning it one steady breath at a time. Vanessa swallowed hard as she searched the board, but every path she found closed before she could breathe, and the crowd watched in awe, feeling the shift of power settling completely into Mia's hands. And now the restaurant waited breathlessly for Vanessa's next move, certain that nothing would be the same when she finally chose her path. The restaurant tighter than ever as Vanessa stared at the chessboard, her pride shaking inside her like fragile glass ready to slip from her hands. She tried to smile. She tried to act calm, but everyone around her sensed the fear rising behind her eyes, and the tension thickened as the crowd waited for her next move. Mia sat completely still, her fingers resting lightly near the pieces, her breathing soft and steady. She did not rush. She did not brag. She only watched Vanessa with gentle patience, as if she understood how heavy the moment was, and the room grew more silent as people leaned in, drawn to her quiet strength. Vanessa finally pushed a pawn forward in a fast, angry motion, as if she wanted to strike the board itself, the move reckless, and several people winced, because they knew it was a mistake, a desperate attempt to break free from the careful trap Mia had shaped without noise or pride. Mia studied the move with soft eyes, then responded with a slow, graceful slide of her bishop, And once again the board shifted into her favor. The crowd whispered loudly, unable to hide their amazement. The simple waitress was winning step by step, and Vanessa's shoulders tightened, as if the air turned sharp around her. The little boy behind Mia cheered in a tiny voice, and his excitement spread through the room like a warm spark. People exchanged looks of hope, feeling something bright build inside them, as Mia continued to play with quiet, steady skill. Vanessa slammed her hand on the table, demanding that the crowd stop whispering, stop cheering, stop distracting her. But the owner stepped forward and reminded her she was the one who wanted this public match, and she could not silence people just because the game was turning against her. Ethan watched from his quiet corner, a deep, thoughtful look settling in his eyes. He had seen Vanessa angry before, but never this shaken, never this unsure. He also watched Mia, who glowed with a calm grace that felt more powerful than any loud bragging or showy pride. Vanessa tried another move, her hands trembling as she pushed her knight into a new spot. But it was clear she had not thought it through. Her strategy was breaking apart piece by piece. Mia, unlike her, stayed composed. She lifted her rook gently and placed it in a perfect position, tightening the pressure, and a rising murmur filled the room. The match grew harsher for Vanessa, frustration showing in her face, her posture stiffening, her pride collapsing with every new move. She had always been admired, feared, envied. But now, in front of a simple worker, she felt truly small for the first time in years. Mia did not smile, she did not celebrate, she only kept playing with care. She remembered her mother's words that chess was like life. You did not win by shouting, you won by seeing clearly, by staying true to yourself. And she held those words in her heart as she studied the board. Vanessa spoke through clenched teeth, accusing Mia of trying to embarrass her, accusing the crowd of turning against her, blaming everything except her own pride. But the boy behind Mia whispered that heroes do not need noise, heroes play with heart, and his soft voice reached the ears of several guests who nodded gently. Vanessa made another move, pushing her queen into a risky position. The crowd gasped, because it was bold but foolish, and Mia saw the opening instantly. She moved her knight in a calm arc, and the restaurant erupted in shocked whispers. Vanessa's queen exposed, unable to escape. Vanessa froze, her eyes wide. She looked at the board, then at Mia, then back at the board again, as if hopping the pieces would change. But the truth stayed firm. She felt her power slipping away like sand between her fingers, and panic began to settle under her skin. Ethan stepped a little closer, not speaking, but watching carefully, understanding forming in his expression. He saw Mia not as a waitress, but as someone rare, someone steady, someone who carried a quiet brilliance no arrogance could match. Mia waited kindly, giving Vanessa time to breathe, the moment heavy yet gentle, like two worlds meeting, pride against patience, noise against calm, ego against heart. And the crowd held its breath as the tension climbed higher. Vanessa grabbed her queen, trying to pull it away from danger, but Mia gently shook her head and pointed at the board, her voice soft as she explained that the queen had no safe path left. And Vanessa felt the truth strike through her defenses. She was caught, completely caught. The crowd understood, two whispers growing louder, eyes widening, as their hearts began to pound. The simple waitress had cornered the powerful girlfriend with nothing but quiet wisdom and steady hands. And now the match trembled on the edge of a moment that would change everything. The room tight, and every person leaned close, unable to look away, as the match reached a breaking point, with tension rising like a held breath. The moment Vanessa realized her queen had no safe place to go, the entire restaurant felt as if it inhaled at once, the weight of the moment pressing around her, as she stood frozen under the eyes of everyone watching her shrinking pride. Vanessa tried to keep her smile, but her lips trembled, and her hands shook slightly, her polished confidence slipping like water through open fingers. She wanted to escape the table, she wanted the match to stop, but the board in front of her kept pulling her back, forcing her to face what she could no longer hide. Mia sat gentle and quiet, her expression soft and steady. She showed no pride, no anger, only understanding, even after all the harsh words Vanessa had thrown at her from the beginning. Mia waited patiently, giving her the space to think, giving her the respect she never received in return. The little boy behind Mia clutched the back of her chair, whispering encouragement in a tiny, hopeful voice, and the guests nearby felt their hearts warm at his innocent faith in her, as Mia prepared for whatever move came next. Vanessa finally slid a pawn forward, a rushed, shaky move that did nothing to help her escape the tightening trap around her position. Mia lowered her eyes to the board, and after a slow, thoughtful breath, she lifted her rook with careful hands, placing it in a spot that strengthened her advantage even more. Whispers spread through the restaurant like soft waves, people saying Mia was close, people saying Vanessa might not recover, people saying they had never seen a match shift so powerfully. Before Ethan listened quietly, each word sinking deeper, as he watched Mia with a growing sense of admiration. Vanessa opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came, her throat tight, her pride trembling. She glared at Mia, as if searching for a reason to push the blame away. But Mia only offered kindness, saying softly that she was only playing the game, saying she respected the effort Vanessa had shown. Vanessa felt something twist inside her at those words, because they carried no mockery, no sharp edge, only truth, and it made her feel even more exposed. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles pale, as she forced herself to push her bishop forward, though the move weakened her position even more. Mia studied the board again, her thoughts clear, her breathing steady. She took her knight and moved it in a quiet, controlled arc, and a wave of gasps filled the room. Vanessa's king now cornered with barely any space left, and the shock spread across her face like a cold shadow. Ethan stepped closer, now unable to stay in the background. He watched Vanessa's pride crack, and he watched Mia's quiet strength grow brighter than anything he had expected, the truth becoming clearer with every move Mia made. Vanessa stared at the board, her eyes burning with fear and disbelief. She whispered that she could still win, but no one replied because everyone saw the truth. Mia had taken control of the board with a steady grace that silenced doubt. The owner folded his arms, watching with a look of pride and concern. He knew the lesson hanging in the air, the lesson about how pride without heart breaks easily, while humility carries its own strength through storms and shadows. Vanessa reached toward her queen again, but her hand froze above it, her mind racing, searching for a miracle move to save her. She breathed sharply, then pulled her hand back, unable to find any path that did not lead straight into defeat, and her heart sank deeper. Mia noticed the struggle in Vanessa's eyes and spoke gently, saying she could take more time, saying she knew the game was difficult, saying she understood how heavy the moment felt, and her soft voice hit Vanessa harder than any victory shout ever could. The restaurant grew quiet, as if preparing for the final moment, every person sensing the match was reaching its last turning point, tension curling through the air like a tight ribbon ready to snap. Vanessa pushed her king one square away, a small, desperate motion, hopping it would buy time, hopping it would break the pressure. But the move only made the truth clearer. It was over, and the restaurant felt the shift like a calm wave washing through the crowd. Mia nodded slightly, then reached for her queen. She placed it in a direct path that cornered Vanessa completely. The crowd reacted in a single breath, the sound rising like a soft echo across the room, the final shape of the match now undeniable. Vanessa stared down, unable to look away, unable to pretend, unable to rebuild the pride she had worn like a crown. Ethan stepped forward slowly, his voice warm, as he said that the match showed more than skill, it showed heart and character, and the difference between playing to impress and playing with true purpose. Mia waited in silence as Vanessa's eyes filled with the painful understanding of what the game had revealed, and the crowd leaned close, knowing the end had come, and nothing after this moment would ever be the same.